Okay, Kirk, I see you submitted some stuff. I don't know if you want
Yeah,
to
I thought,
elaborate on what's...
yeah, I thought you'd want, you probably heard, I'm sure Willie's heard, you may not have, that planning and zoning denied the change in the interchange zone, proposed zoning that our regulations committee proposed. I wanted you to see the zone, I wanted you to see some of the plan, and I wanted you to understand what the concerns were that Alan Kravitz and I shared, and Christine Goupil abstained as a result. They didn't have enough votes to pass it, and it, in essence, gets denied because it doesn't pass. So we kind of have to start over on some things. Main issue, a couple of issues. One is that it permitted up to 50% residential. And as you can see,
That's where it stands right now.
up to 50%.
Proposed regs.
The proposed regs.
Proposed regs.
And one of the problems is it includes Clinton Crossing. So not only could you have residential in the Morgan site, but also the acreage across, and that also, as you can see, includes some tree farms behind what is Clinton Crossing now. You know, you'll also find in the back of that packet some stories about what's going on in the world of premium outlets. And I don't think anybody thinks Clinton Crossing is any immediate threat, but there's some trends there that are troubling. You've got a development in West Haven, you've got large, you know, the stores that are usually in these places opening their own discount stores closer to urban areas. So even though we don't see any evidence of it yet, things are going strong at Clinton Crossing. There could be a day to look at an exit strategy, and I don't think you want to invite residential. So the other thing was that you'll see highlighted, I think pages 1, 4, 10, and I think 14 or something, some, you know, the areas of concern and the regulations. The other one was that it called for eliminating parking regulations in the interchange zone. And that was an issue that Alan had not picked up on previously, and he pointed it out. I think the thing that we may want to do.
Can we discuss this now? Okay.
I think the thing
It's
that
involved with it,
That's
so
all
down
I
right
know.
through the
Okay,
end.
all right.
I think one of the things that we may want to do, and there's also a map in there that shows what the developer is proposing. And maybe what we may want to do is to keep that area that he wants to be residential, and take the residential usage out of the interchange zone. But we may want to change the border around this. You know, we're not trying to stop this particular developer in his tracks, but once we looked at it, there were some major flaws. The other one is that on the schedule of uses that Ray is looking at, it's the one with the blue, many of the things that are permitted in the written portion had X's. That means they're not permitted in the schedule of uses. You know, certain residential uses are not permitted even though they say they're permitted. So there was a real conflict in the regulations. I think the Planning and Zoning Commission, most of the commissioners wanted to pass it anyway because you've got Mill Pond on the hook and they're concerned about alienating Mill Pond. But I think it was the right thing to do to hold this, even if we delay it a month or two and try to get this thing right. And we've been working on it for well over a year, and you'd think by now we would have gotten our act together. So we don't have our act together, and it's unfortunate, but you know, I hope that you can explain that to the developer, that it was not intended in any way to throw up roadblocks to the developer. So if you have any questions at the end, or if I know you don't want to talk now, but I'd be happy to try to elaborate. And by the way, Alan is going to be here, but there must be a design review board meeting or something.
Okay, so that's fine. All right. Thanks, Kirk. So, you know, Kirk gave us some information regarding Monday night and the IDZ regs. I'll start with Monday night, started with the 8-24, which the unanimously approved. I will say, as a sidebar comment to that, I did say that the IDC committee, which John was a part of, approved Mill Pond as a developer based on his concept. And Alan made a editorial remark that the committee did vote for that concept. Well, we didn't hire him because he has nice looking hair. We hired him because we liked the concept he proposed to the committee. There were two other developers, one washed out. The other one was similar in concept. The committee voted for Mill Pond because we liked his concept, and we thought that he had a little bit more backing and was going to be able to produce the job. So Alan was wrong in that statement. Secondly, so it did pass unanimously. Secondly, they denied the regs. I will tell you that I've spent the last day and a half, 2 days doing damage control with the developer, potential developer. The chairman of the zoning board is not happy. He feels he was blindsided. This is not something that came up
Blindsided by whom?
by Alan.
Well, and me.
Yeah, because this is something that's been hanging around
Right.
for a while. And to bring it up at the last minute after a couple public hearings and going on,
Well, to have spent a year on the committee,
it's
and then bring it up
disingenuous to
at
the
that
people that worked on it. It's not fair to the potential developer, the proposed developer that has invested his time and money at this point. He's got skin in the game at this point. He's put some time and money into this thing. He's actually worked with our planning consultant, worked with Julie and Eric downstairs on some of the stuff that are in this right now. And I'm holding on to him at this point. I have a meeting scheduled for next Thursday with myself, Eric, Anselmo, John Gosowski, Julie. I invited John because he's on the IDC, to see where we go, how we pull together. In my opinion, it should be resubmitted as is. Next month's meeting, the damn thing should be back in front of them. It could have been approved as is, and if there were concerns regarding the parking or the other part, it could have been amended down the road, but at least we'd have a document in place, and we're not scaring this guy off as we've been scaring all these other developers off lately. We were putting a bad taste in people's mouth.
And then what did Eric say about, making changes to it in the future if we pass it?
He suggested that the other night, and it wasn't received well.
Well, and the thing is, it takes 5 to pass, and they only have 4. Some of that was because people weren't there.
Right.
Who might have voted for it. There were a number of things that it just fell the wrong way. I was opposed to it in its current form. I recognize it's late in the game. It's unfortunate, it's bad form, acknowledge all that.
Yeah.
But I think the concerns are genuine. I think they're well
Why
founded.
wasn't this found?
Months ago.
I agree. There's no excuse for that. I'll be honest with
We
you.
knew exactly, on the IDC, and Alan was
We
on it.
talked about all this stuff,
He
parking,
knew
residential.
what all three of them said had to be done to make this successful, and it had quite a bit of residential, all of them did.
Yeah.
And we even asked them to tune it back a little bit. Now, it might not have been what the committee 100% wanted, but we want something that's gonna be successful. And if this is what 3 out of the 3 we have say need it, why didn't he go back when someone was on that?
Right, I think this is something that as we looked at it, the issue is not just the Morgan side, it's also
I understand, but
Glen Crossing. So, I think we want to get to the end place that will solve these problems, and one would be to let that part that they want to be residential remain residential, not change it to an interchange zone.
But it just looks like amateur hour.
I agree. I agree.
And I hate to say it, the one that wanted to change, their initial, when we said the initial advertisement for the RFP, the one that actually had us go back and add residential to it, who was that? It was Alan.
Yeah.
To change it to more of a mixed use.
Alan Kravitz.
Practice. And now, no, I'm not kidding you.
But the problem is, it went, he wanted it like a in-town village like feel with resident, which it just went beyond what he wanted, but both 3 developers that expressed that this is the only way in this economy,
Right.
way retail's going and so forth.
I think the thing is if you change the border of the zone so that the part that is currently residential remains residential. Because that's what they want to do, residential, is in that one area that, comes around. So you leave that residential.
But what about the mixed use that's up front?
Is there mixed use up front?
There's retail buildings with apartments above.
Throughout the whole thing?
Well, you do that now in B zones anyway. There's some B zones
Sure.
that permit some of that as long as it's upstairs.
And here's my thing, and if God forbid, Clint Crossing's ever went under, and God forbid, and Joe Shrimp's not gonna do anything on his property. Maybe whoever inherits will, but
Who cares?
we'll deal with it later. This is not an imminent thing. My problem is not, what I'm hearing is, this is not gonna get any chance to get resolved until March.
Yeah, you have to go through a hearing and there's no, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Because you have to-
so I got this guy is like, we're negotiating a contract of person of sale. I'm on the phone with our attorney from Shipman on Tuesday, spent an hour and a half on a conference call with her and John Wasowski, because we're, you know, it's been going back and forth, and she's beside herself. She goes, I wouldn't blame them if they walk away. And based on next Thursday's meeting, they may walk away. He was not crazy happy today. I said, well, we need to sit down and let's see if we can figure out a way to get this thing, move it along, get it expedited. So we may lose it. And it's unfortunate, you know.
I guess the thing is if you left that residential part residential, and then brought down the percentage that's residential in the interchange zone.
The idea all along was to craft the regulations towards the concept that the committee approved. And that's why we had the chairman, the vice chairman of the zoning board on here. We had the chairman in the wetlands. That's why we had ZBA. And that's what, you know, the finance board, Board of Selectmen. And I hate to say it, we screwed it up. Now it's screwed up. And we're gonna try to bring it back. I'm working on it.
It's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
I am so disappointed. I mean, this is a big facet of having this whole.
And listen, Ansel and I don't see eye to eye all the time. But I'll tell you the other day, yesterday I called him, he came right in and we had a meeting and he's not happy. He's not happy. He feels he was blindsided, not just by you, but Alan's the one that started the ball. And then the other one not voting, abstaining. The other problem is that you got one member who's very intelligent. I was there the other night, he has good comments, good questions. He didn't show up to meetings. So he couldn't vote. You know, and then we had a new member, because somebody resigned, who wasn't involved in this process, she couldn't vote. So when someone said he's gonna address that with the one that doesn't show up, who hadn't even listened to the tapes apparently either.
Right. But I think the tape that he had to listen to, I mean, all they did was table it, which is, you know, but he didn't have to listen to it, but, you know.
And it actually could have been tabled the other night. There were other options versus denying it and putting it off till March. It could have been accepted.
What do you
and
say,
then
March? Because of.
it potentially, because of the timeline, because of the requirements for postings and this and that, it could potentially, it actually has to go to the regional planning organization for a period of time after public hearing for them to comment.
That's if there's any changes.
Correct. Well, if there's a change.
If
It could be resubmitted as is,
Right.
which
And
is
if
probably.
everybody showed up, you'd have the votes to pass it.
Right, exactly. Or the understanding being that it can be amended at a later date, which is what Eric was trying to say.
This is way beyond this, though. This should have been looked at or taken care of.
It's been going on
I
forever.
apologize, but I don't understand, after we sat around for a year on this
It was over a
stupid
year.
committee.
Right, yeah, and you had the moratorium and all that, you're absolutely right, you know, there's
8
no.
months ago, we knew where it was going. And why didn't someone, if it wasn't have to do with just, why didn't anybody think about the outlets or whatever before? I mean, not that I think that's going anywhere or whatever, but, and you know, it could not do as well, but I don't think anybody's gonna go banging up condos over there.
No.
So,
At some point. you
He's
have
at the
to
point
start
where he doesn't
thinking
want
about
to,
it.
he doesn't want to lose any of his parking, that's why he wants the library.
right. But even if Shrimp's area went residential, who cares?
And Joe won't give it up, Joe wanted,
But-
they've been after him for years to sell, not even all the way to Cowell Road, a portion of the back to Cowell Road, so they can have additional parking for employees to get them off the front part of the property. And he won't sell it. I don't know. So that's where we are. It's disappointing. We'll figure it out, hopefully. Hopefully when we meet with Henry and John Hendel next Thursday at 1 o'clock, we'll come out of here favorably. You may not. So,
This is a black eye, it really is. Because this is the biggest project that's hit the town since the crossings. And to do this to them at the 11th hour, that is just absolutely wrong. And that
Not just
really,
them,
who's
but all
gonna
people
step
across
up?
Lyman was-
Who's
who else
gonna
wants to,
take,
who's gonna wanna come forward?
who's gonna wanna come forward if these guys walk away? We've already gone out to bid, RFP or whatever twice.
Mhm.
And here we have someone who's giving the town exactly what they asked for.
3 times, 3 different iterations, right there. How many times have we changed it on?
This isn't the only developer in the last 6 months.
Well, what, I know. It's become a trend. Anyway, that's all my own comment for, and I appreciate your being candid with us. But we'll pull up our, suspenders and boots and we'll go forward. We'll figure out what we're gonna do.
And hopefully you can explain it to them, that I hope this delay, I mean, they weren't gonna be able to break ground until when, I mean, it's gonna be.
Potential closing date, right now, is October 2016. So there's time, but there are also, there are timelines with them because they gotta go for their finance,
Right.
and they have to do all that stuff.
But I just think it just sends a bad message. If I'm the developer, I'm coming in,
Just saying
I want the backing of the town like he thought he had with the group. And, you know, just that it's a smooth process.
And that was
you're
the
gonna be
idea,
investing
to work
this money and you're gonna be, you know.
Collaboratively, use the superintendent.
And we explained that when we talked to when these guys came in, that we explained how we're gonna do the zoning over to do this.
And by the way, he had met with John, Eric, Julie, myself, Henry, and Helen met regarding the draft regs before, about, you know, modification, this and that, which was all in there. And, you know, so we'll see. We'll figure it out, hopefully. That's all I got. Motion to adjourn, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So moved. Second, all in favor, aye, opposed, no abstention.
Mary, how do I get a prescription?
Keep going longer.
The website just says contact you.